has warned that Kenya risks punishment by the Assembly of State Parties if it fails to hand over 3 suspects, Walter Baraza and lawyers Paul Gisheru and Philip Bett, wanted in The Hague on charges of tampering with witnesses. However, Kenya says it will demand to try the 3 suspects in local courts. Also in today's program, President Uhuru Kenyatta has instructed his cabinet to ensure that key government projects are completed promptly. What are some of these key projects aligned to the Jubilee Manifesto's priorities for the 2016-2017 financial year? Moving forward, also in today's program, President Uhuru Kenyatta was expected to officially open the 3rd annual devolution conference, but instead sent devolution Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kiunjuri. Was this a case of deliberate absentia by the president, considering he was notified well in advance about the conference? This and much more in today's program. This is Politically Correct, and my name is Leah Ngari. And with me on set is a Member of Parliament of Ugunja, and his name is Opiyo Wandayi. Thank you so much for coming and making time. Good to see you.
Thank you, Leah.
How's your morning been?
Good so far. Yeah.
You're looking very vibrant today.
Always vibrant, Leah, as you know. Yeah.
Well, I want us to look at matters regarding the ICC. Does Kenya risk penalties from the Assembly of State Parties if it does fail to hand over the 3 Kenyans wanted for witness tampering?
Well, you see, that is more than obvious. I've seen the government trying to take Kenya in circles, taking the country in circles on the matter of ICC. The fact of the matter is that for as long as Kenya remains a state party, okay? As long as Kenya remains party to the Rome Statute, it is under a legal obligation to comply with the requirements and conditions set by the ICC. In fact, the very moment that Kenya signed to the ICC the Rome Statute, the Rome Statute became part and parcel of the Kenyan Constitution. That is very clear, really. It is no brainer. And therefore, this hair splitting that the Attorney General is subjecting Kenyans to is unnecessary, really. It's very obvious that they will have to comply. But even more importantly...
But what if they don't comply? What happens?
You know, there are sanctions. Kenya remains a respectable member of the international community. And the country cannot risk its reputation, okay, on the altar of what I would call political expedience. I don't think the country is going to risk its reputation. But the most important thing is that it should be borne in mind that even if Kenya were to withdraw from the Rome Statute, it is still under an international obligation to respect human rights. And that's why you've seen the ICC moving against President al-Bashir and many other characters whose countries are not signatory to the Rome Statute. So you're not immune, really, yeah, from the ICC by the mere fact that you withdraw from that statute. Yeah.
But what are the implications that Kenya would be looking at if indeed Kenya does not surrender the 3 suspects?
The question you should be asking yourself is, why would Kenya not want to surrender these suspects? So that's the most fundamental question. Because we are a country governed by the rule of law. We have said time and again that we shall respect the verdict of the courts, and that's why these 3 individuals, in fact, one of them, if I'm clear in my mind, has been through the court system trying to object to his extradition to the ICC. Now, if the court process finally determines that he needs to go, the government has no other recourse rather than to take him, to give him up to the ICC. But more importantly, why is the ICC there in the first place? with regard to Kenya situation. It is because our local institutions, local judicial system has been proven to be incapable of handling these matters. And that's really the reason why ICC came into force in Kenya.
But how,
it was unnecessary, really.
If really the institutions we have are not capable of handling such cases, why then would we see Attorney General Githu Muigai come out yesterday and say that the 3 suspects will be tried locally using local laws? That
is what is baffling most. If we leave alone even the 3 guys who are alleged to have tampered with witnesses, the post-election violence took place about 8 years ago. I'm not sure, 8 or more.
8 years.
Yeah. If there was the will, there was the intention to try the perpetrators of these heinous acts locally, we should have seen action on that front. We should have seen. Most of those crimes are crimes punishable under the penal code, really. We don't even need ICC to investigate them and punish them. You simply arrest the fellas after investigations, of course, take them to court, prosecute them, and let the courts determine their guilt or otherwise. We haven't seen that happen, really. So what are we saying? Are we saying now that the president did pronounce in Nakuru that we are done with the ICC, there will be a change in terms of the capacity or willingness locally to try these cases? I doubt. I fully doubt, yeah. So the AG is obviously playing politics, which is very unfortunate, yeah.
So are we saying that Kenya is not capable of handling these cases, that we should just surrender the suspects to the ICC?
If it was capable, it should have done so by now. That is what we're saying. Yeah. You know, the taste of the pudding, we're told, is in the eating. Yeah. If Kenya is capable of trying these cases, we shouldn't be gloating over it. Shouldn't be talking about it on rooftops.
Now,
we should be seeing action, really.
Looking at the fact that you're saying Kenya is not capable, is not well equipped to handle such cases, what will it take for Kenya to be able to handle such cases? Are we looking at amendment of laws, or what can be done?
The laws are there. In fact, the laws are more than enough. What we lack, first and foremost, is the political goodwill. That is the first and foremost thing that is troubling us. The political goodwill to tackle these matters. We have talked about the judiciary, and we have done a lot of reforms in the judiciary. In fact, the Kenyan judiciary is fairly robust as we speak. Fairly robust, save for a few cases here and there of corruption. Okay? Yeah, which is a societal problem as a whole. But I must say the Kenyan judiciary has come of age. If you look at the kind of judgments and pronouncements, determinations that have come out of it in the recent past. Yeah, it's a fairly independent judiciary. Yeah, save for a few cases which you can't rule out in society. And therefore, the biggest obstacle to the actualization of a local mechanism is the lack of political goodwill. That goodwill is lacking, again, because of expedience. Yeah, that what would happen if we acted against so and so? What is the political cost? You know, very, very mundane considerations, very, very personal considerations that really can't help the country. Yeah.
So we're saying we have laws, but there's no political goodwill.
Yeah.
All right, so just moving forward, do you think then it's prudent for Kenya to pull out of the ICC as it is right now? Do you think if then we have the laws in place, then maybe we should try and see how well we can work with the laws we have?
Firstly, the ICC is a court of last resort. It must be understood. But the reason why the ICC has become useful or is necessary is because of the culture of impunity throughout the world, but more so in the continent of Africa. And the ICC therefore acts as a deterrent, as some kind of cushion against this brazen impunity. Because if, for instance, we say that we do away with the ICC and let every country sort out its issues internally, what would happen? What will happen for sure? To characters such as Taylor, okay, characters such as Loro, Babu, yeah, who after losing election in Ivory Coast, squarely and fairly, decides to cling to power until he is smoked out by force. What would happen? And in fact, he clings onto power and continues to kill people, okay, as a way of sustaining his collapsing regime. What would happen if there were no ICC? The Africans would butcher themselves, and would be having genocide after genocide on this continent. So it's something. It's a prospect that we don't want to even to imagine happen. And that's why the ICC remains necessary and vital, Yeah, not only for Africa, but very many other parts of the world. Yeah.
All right. We've seen that the Attorney General said that the local courts handling the cases of the three who have been accused of witness tampering may have to ask for evidence from the ICC. Do you foresee a possibility of the ICC actually transferring the evidence?
I don't think that would be the wise thing to do. The only thing is that if Kenya wants to remain respectable as a country within the international community, is to cooperate fully with the ICC. The accusations leveled against these individuals, these Kenyans, well, our brothers, yeah, emanate from the cases which were at the ICC. Okay? Those witnesses, I don't think even if locally we know them, it's the ICC which knows them. Okay? So it will be asking for too much. Yeah, to expect the ICC to hand over the cases back to Kenya to try. And we are saying these witnesses were tampered with as a way of helping the cases which are at the ICC. You know, and you know the people whose cases were at the ICC, really. You know very well. Yeah, what would happen if you bring back the evidence to Kenya for them to be able to try these characters?
What will happen?
It's obvious. Your guess as good as mine. Yeah. These suspects, if it's true they did what they are being accused of doing, were not doing those things for themselves, you know. They could have been tampering with the evidence or witnesses for themselves because they weren't accused in the ICC. They were doing it for the benefit of those who are accused, I believe. And therefore, it will be asking for too much to expect Kenya to prosecute this matter effectively and satisfactorily.
So
I'd rather the government cooperates with the ICC on this matter, and if it comes to the point where they are required to hand over these people to the ICC, they do it in the hope, of course, that their guilt or otherwise will be determined promptly, and justice will be meted out, okay? Because this is a question of justice, really. And we are here talking about justice, not just for those who are accused at the ICC, or for these three persons who are being accused of tampering with witnesses, but this is justice for the people who lost their lives, people who lost their relatives, people who lost their property in the wake of the post-election violence in 2007, 2008. There's a much bigger issue. Yeah.
And now talking about justice and the people who are affected in a direct or indirect manner, perhaps someone lost a family member, others lost their lives, and their families want justice. Do you think the government has done enough in compensating the post-election violence victims?
Never. What the government is doing, my view, is discriminatory. In fact, is looking at the symptoms, not addressing the root cause of the problem. You know, we are talking about 1,500 people who lost their lives. They are loved ones, they are relatives of those people who are alive still. Talking about people who are maimed. Talking about people who lost property, worth millions and millions of shillings. So what you do as a responsible government, and this was done in South Africa very well, okay, upon the collapse of the apartheid system. for you to talk about reconciliation in a country, first and foremost, you must establish the truth.
And are we able to establish that truth right now?
Now, we have been told that the cases which were at the ICC collapsed for lack of evidence, and therefore those who were taken there were innocent. Fine, fair enough, and I congratulate them. In fact, I'm very happy that our brothers were set free. It's very important that we congratulate them. But the question is, having said that, the fact remains that Kenyans died and property was lost. So who then was responsible? Who did the killings? Who did the destruction of property? Who dispossessed other Kenyans in the wake of the post-election violence? That's a question that must be established. The answers to that question has to be given. And the people must be honest enough. And our position is that the government has got the machinery. The state apparatus has got the capacity to know who did what. Okay? So once you know who did what, then you can say for sure, this is the person who killed so and so. Then you can say, now we have known those who were responsible for whatever happened. Having known that, then you look for justice. And justice can come in very many forms. You can either prosecute those who did these things, okay? Or like in the case of Rwanda, you can go to those village caucuses where people repent, okay? And they're forgiven, okay? That's now justice, okay? You can look for any other option that will ensure that justice is done. Having done that, then people can reconcile. We've known the truth. Justice has been done, either by prosecuting those who did it or by those people admitting and being forgiven, and then now you reconcile, and then you move forward as a country. What the government is doing is jumping the gun, talking about reconciliation from the rooftops. Reconciling who? Who? On the basis of what?
Mr. Opiyo, we'll
Yes.
just take a short break right there.
Yes.
Remember, you can send in your views and comments to the number 0774 455 111. Again, the number you can send in your views and comments is 0774 455 111. We'll take a short break, so don't go too far. We'll be back shortly.